All right. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Miranda Powell from Experlogix, and I will be the moderator or question master for today's panel-style webinar. Really excited to partner with MCA Connect and Microsoft to have a candid conversation about how the CRM landscape is evolving and what those shifts mean for manufacturers who are wanting to get the most out of their technology investments now and in the future. Over the next 45 minutes, we'll unpack some of the key trends we're seeing, where dynamics in Salesforce are headed, and key considerations to keep in mind if you are approaching a CRM renewal. If we have time at the end, we'll open up for Q&A from the audience, but without further ado, we've got a panel of experts here, and I will kick things off by letting each of them introduce themselves. So Jason, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Miranda. First off, really glad to be here today. As Miranda just said, my name is Jason Walker. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Experlogix, and we work with manufacturers to simplify complex quoting, configuration, especially in environments where CRM and ERP need to be tightly connected. So I've spent my career in go-to-market teams helping to reduce friction in the sales process, improve the customer journey, and making sure that customers realize the ROI they were promised when they were sold the product that they were purchasing. In manufacturing, this is no small task, and especially now when I think your buyers are expected to see customization at scale, and internal teams that you're working with today are juggling more tools than ever. So these tools are meant to help, but if they're not implemented thoughtfully, I think they create more data silos, which we're here to talk about today, and how to eliminate those. They can create confusion and slow the process down even more. So a large part of what we talk about with our manufacturer prospects and customers is how to move from that chaos to connected selling. And so I'm excited to talk about why that's happening more and more now, and why more people are choosing Microsoft, MCA, and Experlogix to make that shift.
Thanks, Jason. I'll go ahead and pass the baton over to Mark.
Thanks, Miranda. I'm Mark Holsty. I'm an executive advisor at MCA Connect. I've spent my career, which is over 30 years, delivering large-scale customer transformation programs across the entire customer lifecycle. So marketing, sales, CPQ, CLM, order management, field service, customer service, contact center, and using both Microsoft and Salesforce. So I've got a pretty strong perspective on both those applications and how they work, especially in the evolving changes in the industry now. At MCA Connect, we're industry leaders in manufacturing and distribution, and we're focused on delivering complete customer transformations. So not just employing technology, but as Jason kind of alluded to, looking across the process, the organization, and driving that value-based, business-led benefit for our clients.
All right, and last but not least, Drew.
Well, hello, everybody. Great to be here. Great to be here with partners like MCA and Experlogix. So thank you, Miranda, for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Drew Regan. I lead our global CRM modernization program for Microsoft. So to unpack that, it's really, I have the distinguished pleasure and privilege to work with large customers, including manufacturing customers, all across the globe, help them understand what's going on in the market in the shift that AI is largely driving from legacy applications to modern AI forward applications, how to leverage the power of AI across your business to drastically streamline, automate, reduce manual tasks, have AI do the work for you, and then like as Mark said, transform your business, stay ahead of your competition. But it's all about this shift that's going on. And what we're seeing, what we're going to talk about today, Miranda, is the shift that's going on from legacy system of record to modern AI forward CRM application that actually drives value for the organization. So really excited to be here and be a part of this conversation today. Got a great panel. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Oh, and previously, sorry, let me just add one thing. 20 years in 20 plus years in CRM, and the last 14 years were with Salesforce. So I forgot to leave that little nugget off, Miranda. But I was with Salesforce as a leader at Salesforce for 14 years. I came over to Microsoft in April. Tell you guys all about why I'm here as part of the conversation today.
Yeah, I can't keep out that key piece of information.
Yeah,
Truly
that's kind of
knows
important.
both sides of the coin here. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into some of our questions. We're going to kick it off pretty big picture here. So what are you guys kind of seeing, as the biggest shifts that are shaping the future of manufacturing and how companies sell? Mark, I'm going to have you lead this first question. I know you guys work with a lot of manufacturing customers over at MCA Connect.
Yeah, for sure. So there's kind of three major shifts that we see. One is moving more from that product-based to customer-based approach. Most manufacturers kind of oriented their original founding around a particular product they were offering and how to get it out to market fast, how to create it, how to design it, all those things. And as a result, there's not a huge focus on the customer. And so we're seeing that shift like you see in most other industries, whether it's Amazon or Airbnb or any of the others that you've seen kind of paradigm shifts with. The second one is moving more to subscription models, which you see a lot of industries do. Good examples of this are kind of like Boeing in the aircraft industry, where almost everything with a plane now isn't you go buy a plane, it's you buy a service model for the plane and uptime and maintenance and those types of things. So you can do it large scale, small scale. Honeywell does it with a lot of stuff as well. And then the third is really driving to more customizable and bespoke products. So as opposed to just saying, here's your one product, this is what you get, comes in 3 flavors. It's now working with your customers to really drive something that's much more bespoke at a much lower cost. All of these shifts have a few things in common. One, they require eliminating those process and technology silos that I kind of alluded to in my intro. You're prevented from doing a lot of things when you've got the silos between sales and service and marketing and field service. And so eliminating those is key. Creating unified data across the applications and processes that enable improved use of AI capabilities that Drew mentioned, and we'll give some examples of those later. And then a customer-first design experience centered on simplification and agility. And those are kind of the 3 things that we're seeing there. And like I said, I'll give some examples as we go through the rest of the call on where we're seeing those and how we're seeing it, particularly as it affects selling.
Anyone else want to chime in on that question?
So I can take a stab here too, and I'll try to play off what Mark just said. I've got a similar list going as he was making his points. We've got at Experlogix hundreds of manufacturing companies as customers, and there are definitely some major themes that we hear across our calls. I think I've got 3 or 4 as well, and they mirror Mark's pretty closely. 2 are I think fairly manufacturing specific, and then 2 are maybe a bit broader across verticals. So first off, that expectation of customization at scale, and I think Mark just talked about that. We're seeing that, customers of manufacturers, they don't just want products, they want a tailored solution that fits their specific needs, timelines, and use cases. So that's forcing manufacturers to rethink how they design, price, and deliver offerings. Supply chain unpredictability is another big thing that we're hearing when we talk to people. This is putting pressure on lead times and cost structures. Manufacturers are being asked to, again, they're quoting faster, deliver sooner, and still maintain margins. And so this is really tough now when you take into account we're dealing with potential raw material shortages, logistics delays, tariff challenges, and even regional compliance requirements. So these next 2, I think, are really relevant to go to market. And Mark talked about this one too, is really this internal alignment. And this notion of sales, engineering, and operations operating in silos leads to things like we see on our side of the CPQ world, quoting errors, missed handoffs between sales and manufacturing, and then ultimately delays in production. So when sales promises don't match what the factory can build, it creates obviously this friction that impacts customer trust. It impacts profitability. And another example I'd give here is we're hearing sales leaders in manufacturing organizations saying things to us like wanting or needing to modernize their sales process to get to the next level of growth as an organization. So what I mean by that is this example is if their quoting process is too cumbersome or their teams are spending more time quoting than selling, this leads to frustration for everybody. And ultimately, the domino effect that they've brought up is very impactful to the organization because it prevents them from retaining top talent. It also can impact them from even recruiting top sellers from other organizations, which impacts their bottom line. It impacts their sales velocity and ultimately their ability to grow.
Yeah, and I'll wrap this one up, Jason, with what you just said. When large manufacturing companies, here we are, 10, 15 years ago, rolled out solutions. They rolled out niche solutions. They rolled out task-specific solutions. And there was this proliferation of application after application after application, which required complex integrations to stitch all the applications together to make all those applications work. Because they had a quoting tool or a CRM tool or a inventory tool or specialized niche applications. And what we're seeing now is that those applications are starting to come together. What's driving that is AI because of the need to consume data. So manufacturers are now looking for ways to reduce their tech landscape, consolidate on a platform, reduce the integrations, the customizations. These tools were installed 15, 20 years ago. In most cases, because manufacturers just flat out don't move. By definition, they don't move very fast. And all of those systems are still in place. So we're looking to consolidate that tech landscape. Jason, to put a point on it to what you just said, they want to do this so their sellers can have more time back in the field to be in front of customers, less time quoting, less time CRM admin, less time managing all the internal applications that they need to swivel chair in and out of all day, every day. They want to produce time savings so they can spend more time in front of their customers. Which I think, Miranda, might lead us into kind of our next question.
Perfectly into the next question. We've been talking a lot about data silos, and I apologize, I went a little dark for a second. We are having an uncharacteristic storm in Southern California, so I lost my Wi-Fi for a quick minute. But yes, the next question that we want to cover today is, why is a unified tech stack more important than ever? And Drew, I feel like you were already kind of touching on this topic, so if you want to continue there, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'll let Mark and Jason jump in, but what I talk to customers about, in particular manufacturing customers, I worked with them a lot when I was with Salesforce. I was in manufacturing for a lot of years. What's happening, like I was saying, is there's proliferation of applications. Customers are desiring to bring applications onto a safe, secure, trusted platform. Okay. And if they can consolidate applications, remove the data silos, bring them onto platform, that makes it easy to consume data by AI or Copilot to drive automation, task automation, efficiencies, productivity gains throughout the business. And that automation, kind of the shift in the market here is that there's this realization that the automation needs to occur not just within the seller environment, but it needs to occur across the entire business. Because think about all the supporting and cross-functional roles that are there to support sellers, but don't live in a traditional legacy CRM application. Think about sales operations, think about inventory, think about deal desk, pricing approvals. All of these people who are not licensed in legacy CRM applications, but still need to interact within the sales cycle, they still need access to that data. So I hope this is a really important point for everybody in the audience here to really take in, is that if you consolidate apps on platform, You consolidate data, you make it seamless and easy to access data to surface AI to drive productivity across the entire business, and therefore drive more revenue, outperform your competition, speed to market. These are all the levers that you can pull with a modern enterprise platform. There's an old saying that's like, the systems we put into place originally to drive speed and automation are actually now the systems that are holding us back, because they're silos that live in all over the universe, and it's just not an efficient way to operate. So a lot of big manufacturing customers at Microsoft are just consolidating on platform to drive efficiencies to the business. So I'll let Jason, Mark add on to that. What you're seeing.
I can give my perspective on it, for sure, Drew. So given that most of the programs I've done are large, complex transformations that do span multiple processes, and I've got a fairly deep background in data from way back when we had the Bill Inman days of the enterprise data warehouse and data marts, and all the way through the data swamps and data fabric and all that. The thing that we like about Microsoft and why we exclusively partner with Microsoft is it's a platform play. And for everything Drew said, having that data accessible across that platform, we've customized and built our own kind of proprietary product called Inspire on top of it that's geared towards manufacturing, but it's all built on Microsoft and the Microsoft ecosystem. And the types of stuff that allows you to do today that you couldn't do previously, or was kludgy to do, or required a lot of maintenance, that you can now do today with this platform are things like a lot of salespeople end up handling service questions. So the service requests that come in, they're not getting responded to from their customers. So who's the customer go to? The guy who they know is getting paid for selling whatever the product is. And then you end up with sales spending a lot of their time doing a job they're not getting paid for, and preventing them from selling, to Drew's earlier point. So by having this unified platform, it enables you to provide that information across sales and service and enable them to find out what's going on, get that request to the right place, get it resolved appropriately without spending all their time on it. Another one is on cross-sell, upsell opportunities. Any of the service requests come in, or the calls into contact centers, or through any of the channels, really, being able to identify opportunities from field services, an example, for upselling or cross-selling warranty plans or services around those things, is something you now get very readily in front of salespeople that used to be more difficult to do. And the advent of AI, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, so I won't go in too deeply, but it exponentially improves the ability to utilize that information. Product engineering, the stuff we talked about in manufacturing, how do you improve your products? Being able to take that information that's mined from either your field service teams or your customer service teams, look at those requests and be able to say, we've got design flaws in our products for model number XYZ or ABC or product 1, 2, 3, and feed that back in automatically without having to create a bunch of reports that you then have to have somebody sift through and figure out what the problem is, but just turn that into intelligence. And those are the types of things that we're seeing. And when we talk about AI, I think in the next couple questions, we'll delve into that more, but it's dramatically changing what you can do. And you can't leverage any of this well if you're not on a similar platform or a good holistic technology platform. It's just so much easier to do under the Microsoft technology and architecture.
So connected systems aren't just nice to have, right? They're what makes smarter, faster selling possible. And speaking of smarter, I feel like we've all been chomping at the bit a little bit here to want to talk about AI. So how can manufacturers actually use AI today in their sales process? And how does the platform that you choose between Microsoft and Salesforce really make a difference? Jason, I know we didn't get a chance to hear from you during the last question. So if you want to take the lead on this one, that would be great.
Okay, I will take a stab, and I'm sure that these two can fill in any gaps that I leave behind here. So I think we just heard Mark and Drew talk really well about the importance of a unified tech stack and how that value translates directly to this question of AI. To me, I think this is a really exciting time. So we're finally seeing CRM potentially evolve from being a system of record into something that actually can help a salesperson sell. I think for years, sales teams have been stuck doing admin work, and because of the complexity inherent with in manufacturing, rather, it's even worse. So you're quoting in spreadsheets, you're chasing down bill of materials, you're manually entering data into disconnected systems. And it's not just inefficient, it actually slows deals and it creates risk for an organization. And I think one trend that we've started to see and we talk about now is this notion of a headless CRM, where CRM isn't just a screen you log into, it's a connected layer that powers your entire sales process behind the scenes. And that's really only possible with a unified architecture like Microsoft Dynamics and Copilot. And I know that firsthand coming from where I was prior, where we were in a Salesforce environment and it was so disconnected. We had information really everywhere. And in today's environment, there are so many enablement tools and so much great information that can be had. Getting it into the right places is paramount if you're going to leverage it so that you can help the organization reach the goals that it has. And that's where I think AI really can do its job. When you've got CRM, ERP, and CPQ all speaking the same language, then you've got the ability to do things that are really special in the background with real-time quoting requests that are based on manufacturing capacity, as an example, or you can do automated BOM generation with built-in compliance workflows and just do a lot more with that information in a timely manner. It's also not just about the tools. I think it's about connecting the people and the process. So I think manufacturers today are being asked to, again, move faster, quote smarter, deliver more personalized solution, all while managing complex operations. So if your systems are disconnected, every step can become a workaround, and internal and external customers then ultimately become disgruntled. So that's where I think the platform that you choose really matters. And Dynamics and Copilot, manufacturers are going to be able to scale intelligently with more better connected tools.
Mark or Drew?
Brandon, I'll just weigh in here with the perspective on this. I've spent a lot of time in the sales area, and I'll just give an example or a couple examples of stuff that I alluded to earlier that I think is just game changing when you're talking about transformation. And if you think about, to Drew's point, maybe 10, 15 years ago, applications tended to be, regardless of what area they were in, they tended to kind of leapfrog each other and be a little bit better here or there. The game changer from my perspective is AI. It's having that platform that has that unified data across it, that it's really changing the way we're doing things. An example is, if you think about the sales process, anybody who's worked with salespeople knows, and I can say this because I'm a sales guy as well, we're difficult, right? I mean, we view a CRM application as something I begrudgingly have to go put data into in order to comply with my job and the next pipeline call that somebody's going to get me on to go have a conversation about where we are and what our funnel looks like and all of that kind of stuff. And this generation we're in now, this change that we're making now is probably the biggest change I've seen in my career, even if you include the internet in there, because you are able to do things where now the tool itself, the technology, is enabling you to actually get value out of it as opposed to viewing it as an administrative tool. You're able to come in the morning and ask, what should I be focused on today? And get a list of things that you should send an email to XYZ as a follow-up to that meeting you had last week. Here are the key points that need to go in it. Here's a draft email. Leveraging all of the Outlook capabilities and Microsoft capabilities, you need to send collateral to a client on a particular topic, and pulling that collateral that's the latest and greatest, because as we all know that if you're selling, keeping up with the latest version of whatever the marketing document is or the sales collateral is difficult. Now, it's something you don't have to worry about. You can work your whole day then around how do I respond to customers, get in front of customers, and be value added. You can also use the capabilities to take your top salespeople and kind of get a window of insight into what they're doing differently than your poor performing salespeople, and how to leverage those things in terms of what you're doing. The headless CRM and the ability to come out of a sales call when you're in the field, in manufacturing in particular, right, where you're probably not on a video call or something. The ability to just dictate notes into your phone and have AI put that into your CRM system in a cogent way. And then the final example I'll give before I kick it over to Drew is just, you think about how you run those pipeline calls. Usually we kick out a report or go into the system and we kind of go through opportunity by opportunity. It's not super productive most of the time. And the ability to now use AI to say, what are our top deals we should be focused on? Tell me about the last meeting that we had with that client, and have that information in there that can just spew out the answers to that, as opposed to having to create 500 different reports to answer this question or that question. It just makes them far more dynamic, far more impactful, and far more relevant for the salespeople in terms of doing their day-to-day job and successful for their clients. Drew?
I think if we were going to even tie this back to the question that we just answered, if your technology stack isn't well integrated, you're most likely spending a lot of your time trying to get your SAP to talk to your Salesforce, right? Instead of building out this AI. So any time that you're spending, investing in integration because your platforms don't all speak to each other is probably hindering your ability to really adequately invest in AI. And I think Microsoft really does give you that leg up, when we're comparing ecosystem to ecosystem. Drew, do you want to chime in before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go. I think I see where we're building here, and we could probably, in the interest of time, go into the next one. I can hit on a couple of things that both Jason and Mark said too.
Yeah, absolutely. So next question, Salesforce has been the uncontested name in the CRM space for years now. So let's be honest, why are manufacturers giving Dynamics a more serious look today?
Yeah, I joined Salesforce 15 years ago because it was the undisputed CRM in the world. That's what it was. All the industry analysts will say that, Gartner will say that, Forrester will say that. They all say that 15 years ago. Well, if you look at the industry reports now, it's funny. Microsoft and Salesforce are head to head. All right, feature and functionality head to head, pretty much the same thing. What's driving the real difference in this drastic shift that's going on in the market right now is around AI, is around all the things that Mark and Jason and Miranda, we all just talked about. It's about I think about like real examples. Think about this. We're in a Teams meeting. Copilot could be running alongside of us in this Teams meeting, capturing all of this great dialogue that we're having with our customer. All of that dialogue can be brought into Outlook and instantly generating a follow-up email that goes to the customer because Copilot created it and sent it off for us. That can create a meeting invite to talk to Miranda next Thursday at 3:00 because we talked about it in this discussion. To automatically update CRM notes because CRM lives within Outlook, your natural flow of work. Everybody works in Outlook and everybody works in Teams. It's Copilot is capturing, like that's the essence of a connected enterprise platform and applications, because it's capturing this data real time. It's driving a two-way interaction because Copilot's suggesting, Mark was talking about, suggesting next steps, suggesting systems or recommended actions. It's instantly adding value to every conversation whatever application you live in, because it's learning off of the same data on the platform, right? So now we're driving. I always had a great customer tell me once that they buy commodities, they buy databases and commodities with the natural structure that needs to be in place, but they build differentiated experiences with AI, with Copilot. The only way that they can build those differentiated experiences is if AI has access to all the data. And the only way to provide access to the data is to consolidate data on a platform and remove those integrations, remove those data silos. So now these manufacturers that I speak with on a regular basis are looking to move faster. They're looking to consolidate their tech landscape. They're looking to remove all those customizations that they put into place 15 years ago. And now their business has drastically changed because, as Mark was talking about, they've shifted from selling parts and products to selling subscriptions. So the CRM of record that they put in place and the quoting system, the CPQ system that they put in place 15 years ago no longer suits them. So they've built patches and workarounds and integrations, and the system becomes very fragile. And because of that, it doesn't always work, or it's slow, or it doesn't provide the customer experience. So I always like to talk, the last thing I'll say is I always like to talk to customers about not only the shift in technology that's taking place, but the shift in roles within an organization. So IT is no longer just maintenance of systems, keeping the lights on type of role within an organization. IT is becoming the innovator. IT is the innovator to drive innovation in the business through differentiated business-specific setup for their organization through AI. So now IT, more than ever, IT and business are partnering together to drive innovation for the business, to drive all sorts of improvements, and to help that business shift into the next generation. And this all has to do with kind of consolidation and data and platform and bringing it all together to drive a seamless experience for their customers, putting the customer, as Mark was saying, at the center of everything they do, as opposed to focusing on a product.
Absolutely. And I know both Mark and Jason, you guys have also seen people, leaving Salesforce and coming over to Dynamics. Or anything that you guys want to share or kind of elaborate on this question or Drew's response?
I mean, I'll give a perspective. I thought Drew did a really good job covering the key stuff. Obviously, being somebody who was at Salesforce for a long time and Microsoft, he knows both sides. My experience having implemented both products and worked with customers that have both products, I mean, just candidly, most of the Salesforce customers that I've worked with, I don't see too many happy ones. They're always kind of, we bought it because, to Drew's point, it was the best. And the servicing of it, though, the experience that they have with it, I mean, I run into more Salesforce folks that want to get off Salesforce and haven't, because they haven't found a compelling reason or wanted to make this shift. In my mind, the shift to AI and Copilot and that full integration that you're able to leverage now, to me, that's kind of transformation plus. That's why you shift platforms, because Salesforce just isn't keeping up at all. I mean, you're not going to be able to do the type of stuff that you're currently able to do with Microsoft. And that's just going to accelerate because of that unified platform, because of the Copilot built in, because of the access to products like Microsoft 365 and Office products and all those things that we use on a day-to-day basis. So in the manufacturing space, which is where we largely focus, manufacturing and distribution is really the core industries we serve. This transformation, it's more than switching from one platform to the other now. It's I want to change the way I truly do business, and I want to jump to the next level. And that, I think, is the main thing that I've seen change in the decision-making of our clients around whether I should pick Salesforce or Microsoft. I have an ability to truly transform and take advantage of capabilities that I just can't do in Salesforce.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it kind of boils down to challenging the status quo, right? Salesforce has kind of been the status quo. There was always the saying that nobody ever got fired for buying Salesforce. And today, manufacturers in particular have a lot of other options in front of them. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears into our next question, because at the beginning of this year, Salesforce announced that they are going to cease sales on their CPQ solution, which is obviously an integral piece of technology for manufacturers. These customers are now being nudged towards Revenue Cloud, but what does that really mean for manufacturers that are using legacy CPQ today? Jason, obviously this is the world that we live in every single day. Do you want to take the first pass at this question?
Yeah, that'd be great. Sure. So I think to start to answer, I'll just give a little background on what I think Revenue Cloud is, and Drew is going to be able to probably add on a lot to this based on his background. But Revenue Cloud is really built to help companies try to automate that entire quote to cash process, and from configuration to invoicing, et cetera, all within Salesforce. It's a horizontal platform for recurring revenue and standard, what we would call standard B2B quoting. I think that the challenge for manufacturers that have complex or highly engineered, customized products, it's not built to handle deep configuration logic, manufacturing specific pricing, or ERP grade integration. So what we are seeing or hearing is that this is a disruption for customers. So when we talk to our partners, prospects, and customers, we hear the following: that the shift it's kind of being marketed, I think, as like a rebrand for CPQ in Salesforce, but it's really a fundamental change for system architecture and functionality. And unfortunately, there's no real clean migration path that people have been able to tell us about, and they are facing the reality now of a costly re-implementation. And so that would include things like rebuilding your configuration logic, reintegrating with your ERP, retraining teams on new quoting experiences. And if you're doing all that, becomes an incredibly expensive project from the standpoint of taking on a new endeavor that's not being billed as such. And so because Revenue Cloud also, I think, is still evolving, many manufacturers are finding it lacks the maturity and flexibility needed for a lot of use cases. We even had examples where customers have come to us, and while they were trying to work with Salesforce on doing a transition, they weren't even able to explain to the customer how they were going to do it or show them a demo of how this would work in their environment. And so I think that's one big reason why manufacturers are now exploring alternatives like Microsoft Dynamics and Experlogix CPQ, is that we can get that deep integration and fast implementation on a platform that's really purpose-built for complex manufacturing, and you don't have to start from scratch.
Yeah, and I'll add that Microsoft built a program specifically to migrate customers off of Salesforce onto Microsoft, and we partner with Experlogix to deliver CPQ. Period. If you're considering looking at from CPQ to RCA, it is a entirely new, brand new implementation. It's not a migration. It's a new implementation. So my argument would be, and what I talk to customers about, is why not reevaluate your entire relationship with Salesforce? Take this as an opportunity to visit what's available in the market. What Mark and Jason and Miranda have all talked about is there's modern solutions. There's modern AI embedded solutions that are available today that can drive streamlined process and automation throughout your business. Rather than going through a painful re-implementation of RCA, why not reevaluate your entire relationship and see how, what modern CRM looks like in conglomeration with CPQ? And let's see how it all works together. We put a program in place specifically to address these needs because there is so much demand in the market to look at modern CRM.
And that funnels really well into the next question. I know we're right at the 5-minute mark, so I might make this the last question. Also want to encourage anybody that's in the audience to use the Q&A button up at the top, drop in any questions that we can answer in the final few minutes of this session. But, Drew, you kind of touched on this lightly. So Mark, I'm going to pass this one over to you in terms of how are Microsoft and partners like MCA Connect making this migration easier and less painful than ever? Because I'm sure some people in the audience are, sweating when they're starting to think about migrating off of a system that they've used for so many years. And if there's any reassurances you can give them in terms of it might not be, as challenging as you might think.
Yeah, so I'll probably date myself a little bit with this one, but one of the things that I've observed over having a long career is oftentimes when people migrated to Salesforce to begin with, They didn't really do anything transformational around the way they run the business, around the way they operate it, the ways of working, all those things. They might have been coming from a Siebel or a Vantiv or something like that that most of you probably have never heard of. But they were kind of the Salesforce before Salesforce was Salesforce. And my point in bringing this up is, they didn't make a transformational change then. Even if they did, it probably wasn't too dramatic because it was mostly just migrating to the cloud at that point. There's a super opportunity, as I mentioned before, to transform the way you work. And that in and of itself, when you're doing these migrations, you shouldn't think about it as just let me take data from this system and pop it into that system. You need to think about how you're truly going to drive additional value, move to the forefront of providing a better customer experience, and take advantage of that. The second thing I'll say on it is Drew alluded to this. Microsoft has a program around this that we participate in as well that has tools and capabilities to do that data migration. There's more that goes into it than just that. There's all the customizations you have to evaluate and look at if you even plan on migrating those or just going more with a new way of doing things, which is what we'd recommend. You might have 500, 1,000 reports for some of our clients that have been built up over the years. Being able to understand, you don't just migrate those things, you understand what's really needed in the new ways of working and doing business so that you're not just trying to do this big, massive, everything we have over here, we want to put over there. I'd encourage you, that's probably a mistake if you're going to do that. You really do want to take advantage of the capabilities, particularly the Copilot capabilities, the unified platform that Microsoft provides to really catapult you into the future and get you to the next level. And we've got tools and capabilities and toolkits and templates and methods around all of that to make it pretty painless to do. You can usually drive significant value by making the change.
Yeah, I would say we partner with MCA not to lift and shift. We partner with MCA to move and improve. So in a modern CRM way of working. So come to us and let's learn about moving and improving, not lifting and shifting. Mark's dead on. We're not just recreating Siebel. We're recreating Salesforce and Microsoft. We're doing it in a way that makes sense in this age of their business, in this age of accelerating AI to streamline processes.
Absolutely. And I think that you could make the argument that the Microsoft channel has one of the deepest and most expansive partner networks in the technology space. So there's plenty of people to help you make that decision. And not only is it not as painful as you might think from a logistics perspective, it's also a little less painful on your wallet as well. So I think that if we were going to compare cost to cost from a subscription perspective, I think Dynamics is going to be a little bit more palatable in the long term. So while you might need to, pay for this transformational kind of migration, in the long term, it should be putting dollars back into your pocket, not just from the capabilities of AI and improving your sales process and velocity, but also just from a strict dollar to dollar perspective as well. So I think we're pretty much at time, but if there's one piece of advice, maybe a one sentence little closer from each of our panelists in terms of what you would say to any IT and sales leaders that are evaluating their CRM strategy, what would that be?
I'll take this one here just to start. So I think one thing to think about as you move forward, if your CRM and CPQ tools require constant developer intervention just to keep up, that's not a scalable solution. So don't underestimate the cost of complexity. I think the right platform should empower your teams, not slow them down. And so as you evaluate your CRM, your ERP strategy, whatever is part of that equation for you and your organization, look for solutions that are built to handle complexity without creating it. And everything that Mark and Drew talked about today, I was trying to make notes and write down and keep up with their points about what you can do with AI inside the Microsoft ecosystem. We at Experlogix, we're doing all of that ourselves right now, and it's super exciting to take as an example, your call notes from your briefs and Teams meetings, and applying that not only into the CRM, but giving that to your product team so they can hear what customers are saying and what things they want built next. And there's just so much creativity you can do with the help of AI. The limits are only
Uh-oh.
I think Jason
just cut out a
froze.
little bit. I
perspective
thought it was
now.
my end.
Experlogix.
You froze it
Jason.
for a second, Jason.
You froze as
sorry.
if Teams knew that you ran over your 1-sentence threshold. Drew or Mark,
Sorry.
do you guys have anything that you want to close out with?
You know, I was just going
Go
to
ahead,
say,
Drew.
take this as an opportunity to reimagine your business. Take this as an opportunity to question old processes, to challenge old processes, to recognize this, the current state of your business and reimagine your business. And yeah, Microsoft's going to be a lot less expensive than Salesforce, and you're going to have to move and migrate and go through that. But long term, you're going to be much better off because you're going to be centered on your customer. You're going to remove old processes. You're going to remove tech debt. You remove data silos. This is an opportunity to totally transform and reimagine your business moving into 2026, 2027, and beyond. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just keep it real crisp. Don't think of it as a technology swap, one platform for another. You got to think about the business transformation that's enabled in the way things are moving. And you're just not going to get that without the Microsoft platform.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining today's session. We will be shooting over an email that has the call recording as well as ways that you can get in touch with the Microsoft MCA Connect or Experlogix teams. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And thanks again to our great team of panelists here for sharing your thoughts and insights.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.